Welcome everybody to episode number 9. It is what was the vodcast, but we'll have a new name by this time next week. We're joined today by Nigel Kenny. We've got Eleni Selaris and Faye Smith. I hope I've pronounced Eleni Selaris right.
That's fine, you're perfect.
I did all right there, didn't I? I'm getting better at that. So we're talking business today. We're talking surviving the pandemic, surviving COVID, and surviving lockdown. And we want to just basically get 3 different opinions from 3 different salons, and myself as well included, which is a 4th opinion on where we have been, what we've been doing, how we've been coping, how we've been managing, and is your business surviving this pandemic? So we'll start off by introducing everybody. For those who can't see, who are listening audio, we'll start left to right, and we'll go with you, Nigel.
Hey Simon, my name is Nigel Kenny and it's really great to be here. I am based in Kilkenny, Ireland. My salon is called Hair by Nigel & Co. And I'm very grateful to be in such a esteemed company.
Awesome. And yourself, Elena?
So I'm Eleni Selaris. I am actually British based in Cyprus and my salon is in Limassol and we are called Eden.
Awesome. And Faye?
Hi, so I'm Faye Smith. I have a salon in Solihull, which is in Birmingham, and we are called House of Hairsocials, and we are colour correction specialists.
Oh, awesome! So we've got a lot of talent in this room. I must say, I've known these 3 either before or during lockdown with men, and we've spent a lot of time together in this time. We are talking business, and I want your opinions in the comments below, or reply to us if you're listening to it on audio. Get in what you have done differently for your salons. Have you changed things? How have you coped? Are the business grants enough? Has furlough helped? Are you struggling? Let us know, because we've got another episode coming up in the future of people looking at outlets of hairdressing and where they could go from hairdressing. So we're going to start off with the topic of how has it affected your salon? How has this done for your salon in, for example, Ireland? We're going over to Ireland now, and this is good because we've got opinions from people all over. We've got Europe, we've got Cyprus and things like that, and we've got 2 of us in England. So it's exciting to see what other countries are dealing with and how they've dealt with it. But I'll start with you. How has it coped? How have you coped, Nigel, in Ireland?
Well, I mean, it's really weird because, I mean, it all started, obviously, as we know, back in March. And being an eternal, I suppose, optimist, I never really believed for 2 seconds that this was actually going to happen. I could see it in Italy and I could see it over in China, but like it never came to our doorstep. So there was this bond of unity made the whole way across Ireland almost on maybe, I think it was the 10th of March, that salons would freely close and businesses would freely close because they just felt there was a moral obligation to protect the public, because with such little information about this that people had this fear factor in it. Now, like, I'm going to exempt myself from the present company we're talking about, because I still, at that stage, didn't believe it was as dangerous as what it was. So I scheduled a conference call with my team on Monday morning at 9 o'clock. Okay. So I given all the guys the option of staying at home, because at this stage, like, I mean, there was no COVID wage subsidy scheme created. People were just doing it out of fear more than anything, where my personality is a combination between fearless and stupidity. And I really didn't believe that this was going to get to the level it did. So I continued to work on my own in the lights turned off with a couple of salon guests that were there. And but then it came to Friday, I don't know what it was, maybe the 15th of March, and we were officially gone into lockdown completely. So pardon the French, but the shit hit the fan then. You kind of start thinking to yourself, oh my God, this is really happening. Because I mean, you have these strategies in your head of making the best of this situation. But like, once the government had shut you down completely, you felt, okay, this is where the problems are going to start. But even at that, I never really believed it was going to go on as long as what it did. So with that, we started an online retail shop. And I mean, I did not want to freeze any of my bills, and I didn't want to lose the connection with any of the salon guests that I had, because I mean, they needed you now more than ever, I felt myself, because I mean, it's just, you use your characters and you use your strengths and your characteristics that are getting you through and getting you on a very busy salon basis to kind of keep people interested in you as a brand. So, like, I mean, we were able to continue to pay the bills just by selling retail.
Well, we'll want to go into that later on, actually, if that's all right with you, Nigel, because we've got a good topic on that later on. But I don't want you to go too far into that now, because that's exciting for people watching. I want them to hear later on how you've done survival tactics. But yeah, if you don't mind now, Eleni, saying how you've coped in lockdown and how it's affected you as a business.
So, I mean, as Nigel said, no one expected it to go on for so long. We, in Cyprus, the lockdown started in March and it went all the way till May. So, we never had anything like this before. The first couple of weeks, I mean, the government was just reviewing the plans that they could offer us. We got a small grant from the government and we were temporarily unemployed, which we got 60% of our salary, and the grant was only about 10% of the sales. So we had like 90% of loss of cash flow in that time. And as you said, I mean, the bills, the electricity, they did reduce the rent by 30% and they stopped any bank loans for 9 months. So that was a good thing with the first lockdown.
Awesome. Sorry, there I was on mute. But yeah, that's interesting to say because there's some stats there. Did you say only 10% of your turnover you was getting as a grant?
Yeah, I mean, if you like do the equivalent of the sales you would have got, the grant was only about 10%
Okay,
of what
yeah.
we would have made. So it wasn't really that much.
And then 60% of furlough, yeah?
Yes,
Yeah, just
60% of our wage on
Wow.
furlough.
Okay. And then Faye, what about yourself? How have you coped?
Wow. What I'm going to say is that the way I've coped with lockdown is that obviously the money's not coming in like it did before. However, for me, I think the time that I've had off the salon floor and from behind the chair, for me personally, outweighs however much money I would have made in all those months. This time that I've had working on myself, on my personal brand, on my business, doing things like this, I could not have bought this. I could have had a couple of £100 in my till more, but for me, this is of more value. So how I actually coped with that was that I made sure that I knew what was coming in still, which was a small amount of revenue by way of touch-up kits and retail and things like that. I made sure that I was aware of things that I could possibly remove from my outgoing list. And then where I could make any changes by negotiating with certain suppliers and things like that, I did that as well. Came to a figure that I needed to kind of be able to run my business with. And, okay, we had the first grant, which I think that was like 10,000 and what have you. Then you've got your furlough as well coming in. It's never going to be, they are never going to give every single business exactly what they need to continue to survive, I think, at the standard that you did before. But for me personally, the value in all of this has been the fact that I've had the time to do all those things that I stood behind my chair, looking at my desk and thinking in my head, I'd love to be able to do that. I've been able to do it. So I've drawn a line under how many hundreds of thousands I've lost. That to me was never my money. It's gone. And for me, it's
So you mentioned in there cash flow problems. Have we all got a consensus here that we all have had cash flow problems? We're all on a loss of, obviously, I don't mean a loss of what we would have brought in, that's an obvious, but are we all on a loss of turnover compared to profitability? Are we in a loss in general?
I don't understand that. Okay, so obviously we don't have clients coming through our doors. So month by month or week by week, we're not having money coming into our tills in the capacity that we had before.
Yeah.
We do have a small income stream from retail sales coming in. And obviously we've got the government grants and whatever else coming into the system. Obviously the furlough has covered a portion of our wage bills, but we still have to put the PAYE and the NI. And then I've still got my full rent to pay and everything else to pay, tax bills, VAT to pay. I won't say that my business, I'm being very, very transparent here. My business at this stage is not struggling. However, I think for me, it depends on how long this will continue for, as to what decisions I need to make over the next 2 to 3 months. So I'm going to kind of just see what happens over the next 2 to 3 months. But at the minute, we're fine.
Nigel, over to you in Ireland, because your lockdown's been different, and I'll finish it with Eleni's answer, because obviously her grants are far less than ours. But I just wanted to know how are you in sort of like a loss margin, or are you still surviving?
Yeah, well, I mean, the way I looked at it is once lockdown number one ended, we were given a gift of 16 and a half weeks that we were allowed open. So I was very aware at the back of my mind that that was going to end at some stage, but we were eventually going to head back into lockdown number two because sports had all resumed, celebrations had resumed, COVID numbers were going up. So I just had made a conscious decision to be very wise and utilize my time wisely and get as much cash flow into the salon as I possibly could, because I knew in my heart and soul, come October, maybe November, we were going to be closed. So at least I was able to build up the funds there to continue to pay my mortgage on the salon and whatever utility bills. I don't want to stop, because the bigger stress than actually being locked up for this is coming back to a huge amount of negative equity and a huge amount of debt. So therefore, basically, you had to look at these weeks you were given as basically as a gift. And then when we returned at Christmas time for the 3 weeks that we had, I done the 24 days straight through, 16 hours a day. We built up as much as we could. Now, in a normal working Christmas, you become like, damn, my God, I'm going to buy a house in Barbados. I'm never coming back. That's just the way it's going to be. But the realistic thing about it was, I was thinking, now we're closed. God only knows when we're going to open again. So at the moment, it's okay. It's fine. I mean, I'm paying the bare essentials. I'm not going around with a Louis Vuitton belt at the moment or whatever it might be. But I mean, I'm very aware of the fact that we need to be topping up this as much as we can. And as you said, we're going to touch on retail later on, so I'll go on that. But like, I mean, I just don't rest. But I was very, very grateful for those 3 weeks. Even the damage that it done to people's health, I suppose, with COVID cases gone to an astronomical level. We were the worst in the world at one stage. Like, I mean, there was people having parties in Ireland that we won something. What was it? We're the top in the world of COVID cases. They're like, yay, shit. You know, really weird. So look, I mean, I'm grateful for the opportunity we had to kind of keep the show on the road, but I've just taken each day as it comes at the moment.
Do you know what is interesting about that is you already have one of them belts, don't lie to us. Elena, we'll go over to you now. Obviously, your funding's been different, but completely different. Are you surviving? Are you struggling?
I mean, we are surviving. Obviously, there has been positives that have come out of this, apart from the COVID cases and the rest of it. As Faye said, it was a chance to like self-develop, think about the branding, and we did actually start a new business in lockdown one. Believe it or not, we came inner distributors for Cyprus. So yeah, maybe it was something that we wouldn't have had the time before. Obviously, going into salons and to build that up, many salons have shut down over here, but we are surviving and positive. And as Nigel said, take each day as it comes. I mean, there's not much we can do.
You know, it's a good point that you said that salons are closing now. I believe that we spoke yesterday with the Save Our Salons campaign, and they said 10% of salons in the UK have already closed the doors for good, and obviously more predicted. Do you have any stats for what is in Cyprus? I don't think you will, but do you have any stats for on average?
No, I don't exactly know the numbers, but many have shut down, and also the salons that have survived and are still open aren't spending as much. They're watching their stock, doing as many clients as possible, trying to save up money, because we don't know, is this the last lockdown? We've had 3 so far. So
well, that's a question for you. You're reopened now, aren't you?
Yes, we are. Yesterday, actually.
Wow. So how long was your third lockdown?
Only 3 weeks. I mean, it's not compared to you guys. It felt forever.
True, but I think
great to be back, and clients are.
Yeah, I think just going to say then, though, thinking of what you just said and the grant scheme that you have, and you couldn't possibly be closed any longer by the sounds of things. And what's interesting is all 3 of you have said you've took on different projects in lockdown. Now, I want to know if you think you would survive if them projects were in play. So, for example, if you just literally sat on your business as it was with the grant scheme, with the furlough, is that enough to keep you and your mortgage and your kids all fed and watered, and your houses, bills paid, etc.? Sorry, Nigel, I'll start with you, pal.
Will I go first? Well, personally, Simon, I kind of look at it like this. Pain is my passion, and pain is what fuels me to do everything I do. And there probably wasn't enough pain inflicted on me to come along and look at the online academy I designed to create a living that I can have the lifestyle I have now at the moment, because at the back of my mind, I always knew the salon was going to open. However, if the salon, for whatever reason, did go under, and I think if it did go under, it'd be my choice more than anything, because I think, like, I have this sickening work ethic. Like, I mean, I would sell my body for the salon, and it would sell very well, believe me, too, the body. But but the point being, all seriousness, if it did go down, I would put all my efforts into developing this online academy to the highest level that I possibly can. And who knows, in time, basically, it might eventually pay the bills and pay basically my mortgage. But I think it would be an awful lot more harder to create that type of business than it would in a salon, because you've got a team in a salon and it's you versus you at the online academy. So to be honest, answer you truthfully, Simon, probably not, being realistic. I mean, at the moment, it wouldn't be enough, because you depend on a clientele to fuel an academy, an online academy in particular. And let's face it, like, there are times we do look at our phones and be like, I am sick to teach at things online. I want to get hands-on. There's only so much we can learn, I suppose, digitally. We need organic as much as possible in our lives. So it probably wouldn't be enough for me to make ends meet, I have to say.
Do you know what? Thank you so much for your honesty there, mate. Eleni, what about yourself? I know we finished on you last time, sorry, but we'll jump over to Faye in a minute, because I know Faye's got a lot to say on these sort of scenarios. But yeah, Eleni, would you survive if you didn't if you didn't have the other projects?
No, but I'm quite lucky, because my husband has been working from home and has been getting paid normally. So if we didn't have that income, then no. Obviously, our lockdown periods were much less than you guys. I mean, but yeah, definitely struggling. The government has stopped all mortgages for 9 months. So they stopped from March till now, actually, January. So we were lucky in that aspect.
Yeah, lucky's one of them things, isn't it? But it's out of our control, so I think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
What about yourself, Faye?
So I'm sitting here now thinking about this. So I think for me, the two things. So survival for myself at home. I took the mortgage break, and that served me really, really well. So that was absolutely fine. I'm single. I live on my own, so I don't have a lot of outgoings. I stopped, obviously, online shopping. but other than that, home wise, I was fine. I think for my business, I think for me, again, talking about instinct, I would have walked on water to have my business survive, and I feel like I have literally walked on water to keep my business. I wouldn't say keep my business alive, but I think we're actually thriving in all of this. I've really flipped it on its head, because I don't sit well with the oh, woe is me type of, my business is this and it's that and it's no, it doesn't work for me. So I've been constantly thinking of ways of making more of the situation that I am in. I know that I don't have as much revenue coming in, but there's so much more that is flourishing for us. So survival-wise, for my business, I think I would have had to have made cuts maybe in other areas. It could be to do with the fact that we did actually recruit 3 times in 2020. So February, March, I think it was, and then September or October. So we've taken 3 new people on. So they may well not have probably still been in my team if I didn't fight so hard to keep them there and make sure that their actual working roles worked within my business. It's not an option for me. Just not being able to be there is just not an option for me. It's just survival is not a thing for me. It's all about thriving.
Absolutely.
So, no.
And I think that I want to talk about like what cuts people have made and how they can advise people to save money and stay alive and keep going. But on this sort of positive note that we're going, let's just continue that with like, how have you gone into this sort of secondary business? Have you gone into retail? What have you been doing with your spare time?
Well, I haven't actually mentioned a second business. I think the other 2 lovely guests here have. We created an online shop, which I see that as my 9th or 10th employee. because I treat my retail as another team member. And we've always had retail in the salon, but it's always been sold, obviously, in salon in front of customer. I never really explored the whole online thing. That's just a me thing, the kind of barrier that I had with online stuff. I've now learned in lockdown that online is the way forward. So we do have the online shop. However, clients seem to be ordering online, but they want to come and pick it up because they want to connect with me. And I don't mind that at all. But one thing that I've been doing in lockdown is that in the first lockdown, I was approached by Jack Howard. And Jack and I speak on Instagram anyway. And he let me know about the Schwarzkopf program that they had in the beginning, whereby they set up like a voucher link so your clients could buy vouchers. So I kind of flipped that on its head, and I use that voucher mode as a priority deposit for your future appointment. So in the first lockdown, I had sold probably about £10,000 worth of prepayments. So these were clients that had handed over a certain amount of money to secure a future booking. So they were locked into my business, and I've got the portion of their money in my bank account. So that kept us going nicely. Last lockdown, I did the same thing. It was only for 4 weeks, and we did, I think, £6,500 in deposits. So this one now, we're doing the same again. I haven't even started adding it up yet because it's just coming in. But what I have done this time is that I've doubled the amount. So when we were taking £25 before, that was the minimum option. Some clients said, no, I'll pay for my whole bill fare, which that's fine, pay. But this time I've made the minimum £50, and clients are paying £50 as a minimum to secure their future appointments. And all that means is that I will give them the priority of booking an appointment before the phone lines open when we go back. So they've all got a slot, and then what's left goes to clients that phone up. And that gives us revenue. So that is my income.
That's really cool. Sorry, go on, carry on.
Extra. It's just, it's money that, for me, it's all about client connection, securing somebody's future appointment, and the client knowing that I'm going to do that for them, and they are paying for that priority of me doing that, and it's me personally doing it in my salon.
Well, going back to the psychology of it there, and I'll come over to you, Nigel, in a second, because going on to the psychology there, it seems that Faye's clients just want to keep a routine, keep a part of the normality. They're paying a deposit for something that they don't even know when they're going to get it yet, but they are also buying products because they want an excuse to leave the house and come to the salon and collect things.
Exactly, and they stand on the doorstep. I mean, it's all I do totally. So I put a chair in the doorway, I open the door, my shutters are wide open because there are people that are looking in, and I know they're sort of thinking, is she open? And I'm like, I stand in the doorway, mask on, visor on, the whole 9 yards. I ask my client to wear a mask as well, and she stands in a certain place, and we have a conversation. She'll say, how are you? I'm saying, how are you? And so on. And then the retail goes on the chair, we hand gel and everything, and she's off. And I can see the client loves it. She feels that she's still connected to my salon. They love it.
Just a question before I go over to Nigel. You said about £2,000 on prepayments. Have you? No. Was it retail?
No. But the first time was almost £10,000 in the first lockdown in prepayments, and the second time, which was only 4 weeks in November.
Yeah.
We went into tier 4, was 6,000 something.
Yeah. Sorry, just writing it down now for the comments. But yeah, the retail. You said that you've obviously done retail and people are buying more online from you now. Do you know what the differences is between post-COVID and now? Are people like doubling the spend online? Are they're still coming into the shop, I'm aware, but comparing that to what they would have spent in the shop, has there been a notable difference?
Massively. I am a matrix salon, and I work with Ben.
Yeah.
So I work with Ben and Sam, and so Ben gives me. We have a monthly phone call where we go through my monthly turnover and the amount of bums on seats and the percentages, and our percentages are phenomenal. Ben tells me.
That's incredible.
So I mean, we've done, I think, from something like 6% to 14%.
More.
From 6%, we used
Yeah.
to be at around 6% on the month.
Yeah.
Now on the month, we're 14%.
Wow, that's incredible. Nigel, you mentioned that you've opened an online or a second thing of online. What is your sort of reach with that? Are you getting more clients coming through your door? Is it just your normal clients coming through the door? What is it?
Well, I tell you, like, I have to say, like, the first time this started, I wasn't really taking it really serious. So I said I'd have some fun with it. So introduced TikTok, right? And all of a sudden, you're building up a little bit of a persona online that is completely irrelevant to hairdressing. They know who you are, but they've never seen you in action. But yet they look at you and they either love you or they hate you. And all of a sudden, then they want a piece of you. So they're picking up the phone, they're buying retail that they mightn't necessarily have ever bought off you before because they like what they see and they like a bit of personality. And I mean, that's one thing that taught me in this industry that, and particularly throughout lockdown, the first one, that you need to be preparing yourself mentally, physically, and emotionally for your return. And by doing that, if you're concentrating completely on becoming a better hair professional, I think you're going to fall flat in your ass, because when you come back in, you've had 16 and a half weeks of people enduring hardship and pain, losing loved ones, hearing about like this COVID thing every single day, where for me personally, like, I mean, I like to try and make myself as interesting as possible. Like, I like to learn new skills outside hairdressing. I like to basically develop myself spiritually as well, that I can have a better understanding of people's emotions and stress and hardships. So like, first time round, like, I mean, I went off and I done a diploma on sports nutrition. I went off and I'm learning to play chess at the moment. And also what I did was, I mean, I built, as I said earlier, I built this online academy. Like, there was no way this time last year I would have had the tech brain to develop something like that. I was able to learn web design. I was able to basically share about links and reaching a global audience, not necessarily a local audience with that. And that taught me so much more, and it made me an awful lot more of an interesting character to speak to in the chair when people came back to my salon. Because you have to remember, when they were coming back to your salon, they were coming back to, it could be a very hostile environment where people are getting their temperature checked, they're sanitizing, they're wearing masks, they're like 2 meters away from the next person that they could usually have a chat with. There's no magazines, there's no coffee in the salons. So therefore, you need to make it the most anti-COVID environment you possibly can. And how are you going to do that? You're going to do it with your personality, you're going to do it with your knowledge, and combine the two of those together and make it the most pleasant experience they can possibly have. So once they enter my salon, they are entering a COVID-free zone. They're going to feel safe, they're going to feel liberated, but also they're going to feel that they're completely escaping what's going on outside. And therefore, when people feel that way, they're much more lucrative with their finances. They'll trust you more, they'll buy more retail, they'll buy into your service a little bit more, and your relationship becomes stronger with them. So therefore, you're galvanizing what you have there in that day, but also, please God, what you've got going on for 10 years, because it's technically a marriage you're developing. And with a marriage, you got to spice things up. You got to make yourself a little bit more interesting. And everything you do behind that chair is the very same as keeping a successful marriage going. That's what I think.
Yeah, 10 out of 10 for that answer. 10 out of 10. There you go. You got a round of applause and everything. I do think that's a brilliant sort of avenue to go down. You know, you're saying that you've learned these new skills. Again, though, we're going down that psychology route. We're going down the what clients feel they need from us. It's not just a service, it's everything else behind it. Eleni, going over to Cyprus, obviously you said you started a second business then. I definitely got this one right. What was yours? What was your business, sorry, and how did it help you?
So through lockdown one, I was approached after my lives I did on Hairsocials. I was approached by Jed, the founder of Inner Luck, and he sent me over loads of things to try from the range, and I obviously loved it. And then I thought, why not? Let's go into distribution. But by saying that, salons are a lot more careful on what they're spending. So we had to reach into other funds that we have saved, obviously, to help support this new business. But I am feeling positive and look forward to it growing, because the salons that obviously haven't shut down, I mean, speaking from my experience in my salon, the months that we are open, as you guys said, are extremely busy and people are just happy to be here. I mean, if you look at the end of the month of June that we worked this year and last year before COVID, it's higher because people are appreciating their hairdressers more. they retail more, they're buying more, they think, you know, it's an investment, it's a necessity. Once the luxury has been taken away from them, now I think people do appreciate their hairdressers more. And as Nigel said, it's the whole experience. It's your personality. It's them wanting to come and see you specifically. Oh yes, getting their hair done is a bonus, but it's like inside as well as outside.
So you're going down the avenue of supporting hairdressers rather as well as clients, then, aren't you? Really, because you're going in the distribution world.
Yeah, yeah.
How are you finding the distribution world? Because that must be something that's on some of the listeners' minds. Like how would they get into it, for example? But how have you found it? Is it a logistical nightmare? Is it easy enough once you get used to it?
I mean, I have been in this business before because I was a color educator for ASP Cyprus. So I did have contacts and I did have quite a few followers online. So the doors were open in some salons for me, which was good. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. That is really cool. I think we can all agree then that online has basically saved our salons. Being online and being digital is what has saved us in the end and saved our sanity anyway. I just wanted to see what you're going to do now then, because obviously Eleni's gone back, so we'll start with Eleni first. But what are you going to do differently? Because I in lockdown 1, put my prices up after lockdown 1.
Yeah.
Now, that was a huge step for me. It's a huge step from everyone. Now, I know Eleni is fair conscious about this. Not a fan of putting her prices up. I've heard her prices, and for what she can do, we need to sort of give her the confidence, and give other listeners the confidence that they should charge their worth. So, for example, Eleni, what are you going to do differently if you've not put your prices up? How are you going to approach the return?
So, I mean, definitely after all of this and being online and like opening the doors more to the hair salon industry, because before COVID, I had no idea there was unity. So yes, I do feel more confident. I will start charging more and basically just do what I love and charging my worth. So, I mean, we're lucky enough that our shop is big enough. We can have quite a few people here. It's not just one client per service. So obviously that will bring more income. But I think after all this negativeness and everything, I do feel more confident and more positive about the industry in general going forward.
That's a really cool answer. Really good. That. Fair, what about yourself? Are you going to change anything in your salon? Are you going to change anything in your secondary avenues that you're doing? I know you're doing radio, etc. What are you going to do differently?
No, we're just going to be even more fabulous than we were before. So, no, I'm not going to make any actual changes. I'm going back with clearer systems in place and probably going to upgrade a few things that I think need to be maybe switched out a little bit. But I'm not going to change anything. I don't believe that for me, my business, that anything really needs changing. I'm going to add to the business, but I don't think I'm going to change anything. And I'm also more aware of how much I need to be aware of the numbers. That was a big thing for me because I'm one of those people that if it's in the pot and the pot's never empty, then there's lots in there, then it's absolutely fine. No, that's not how it works at all. So I'm well aware of that now. I have a completely different way of using my brain, within my business now. But no, I mean, I can't wait to get back to the salon. I can't wait. And my team members are the same. I get messages from, some of them saying they just, they can't wait to get back. But we're just going to go back.
Are you going to have the same amount of time for your clients that you had before with all the other avenues that you've gone into during lockdown? Because you're still going to want to keep them alive, I imagine, like your radio, etc. How are you going to manage the time?
It's fine. So radio is on a Monday. So during this sort of COVID time, we have been working Monday to Saturday. So we open six days. But going back, eventually I will need to go back to my normal 4-day, working sort of time pattern. But at the minute, I'm going to keep doing as much as I can in the beginning when we initially go back. But radio is a Monday anyway. So when I have been on radio on a Monday, I've pre-recorded on a Sunday. I mean, there's always a way around it. pre-recording on a Sunday, or what? Sometimes I will do a client in the morning, shoot to the studio, do a live show, shoot back for 2:30. You know, if you want to do something, you will find the time to do it. That's what I
I
found.
100% agree with that.
There's always a way around it, and there are many hours in the day. If I have to do clients late at night, they would come. If I had to do clients early in the morning, they would come. There's always a way.
I fully agree with that. It's interesting though, isn't it? Because in lockdown 1, the topic of conversation was let's all look after our mental health, let's all look after ourselves, give ourselves the time that we deserve. And then all of a sudden now in lockdown 3, it's turned into we can't survive in that sort of manner. For me, I think personally, we are now looking at other avenues of interest, other avenues of hobbies. For example, we've got chess, we've got the radio, we've got things. It's almost like we're a glutton for punishment. We need to be too busy. That seems to be the hairdressing mindset. I don't know about you, Nigel. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I mean, we've always had that thing in our head that we were always too busy for anything else besides creating the career for ourselves. It's going to give us everything we want. Then we get everything we want and we can't use it. Like, I mean, I made a big investment 2 years ago. I bought a big car that I love, but it's outside the salon 16 hours a day. I can't drive it. You know, so basically I'm spending money, earning money to pay for this. And, you know, I think you need to put your priorities into tuition. Like when you walk into our salon, into the staff room, the first word you will see in the staff room, it's a Hebrew word for continuous improvement. It's called kaizen. And I mean, it's basically reflective of what you do in the four walls of the salon when you come in, but also what you do outside. Because I think if you are going to come along and be a fantastic professional, you're also going to basically gauge that on the life that you have outside to be a fantastic sports person, a fantastic friend, a fantastic whatever it might be. And I think for me, looking back on things like, I mean, you know, you're talking about change with the guys, what they're going to do with the salon. I mean, I'm sure the two other girls came along and made a huge amount of changes in their salon when they reopened in the first place. But did we do it right? Did we do it to the best of our ability as well? And I probably feel for myself, one thing I learned, I think, from the first lockdown and the second one is transparency in why you've done what you've done. Because at the end of the day, you've got salon guests coming in and the prices have gone up by whatever percentage they might be. It's not good enough to come along and say, just because COVID hit us up the ass, that you got to come along and basically up your prices. Because, I mean, it's not just hair salons, it's every single place you go that there has been an extra tax. And people have come along and said, like, it's PPE and stuff like that. Now, look, let's be honest, PPE is not that expensive. But however, if you've worked and developed and created this avatar of yourself throughout the lockdown, and put your self-worth there, I think you need to come along and basically get that out there and show people exactly why you're charging this amount. But the other thing as well is, I think for us, we charged extra out of necessity. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but like, I mean, for a long, long time, we started, you know, basically just automatically toning everybody's hair without charging them. So therefore, like, I mean, you're at a loss straight away at maybe 25 euros, the cost of that tube or whatever it might be. A blow dry could basically be down to someone's backside, but sometimes you're just too shy about charging that little bit extra because they've been coming to you for years, whatever it might be. I think for me, the language of love and the language of hair is complete transparency. Once you explain why you've done what you've done, most people will buy into it as well. And that was a massive weakness of mine, I have to say, when I did come back, because I was so busy that, you know, when people did question prices, it was a very embarrassing topic, a really embarrassing topic. And that's something I've learned, because I know now, especially after Christmas, when people are coming back, when they're spending their hard-earned pennies, you need to explain to them why exactly they're spending it, because they deserve it. And I mean, I'm sure the same with you guys. I mean, I have a really good relationship with most of my clients, and you don't want to make them feel they've been done. The one thing that's the worst feeling in the world is making them feel someone that they've been done, or you're having them, just using this COVID excuse. And I think a lot of people's habits will change that way with everything. I think it'll actually force us to question prices with everything we do as well. So I'm very grateful that I've got that experience to my belt anyway, and I can thank COVID for that.
Do you know what? That's such an interesting avenue, that is, because when I started going to business management with Winning Ways, and they were talking to me, it was always, the topic was, be transparent with your staff, show them where the money is or where the money isn't, whichever way you want to look at it, and what is left at the end. But no one's ever said to us, show the clients where the money isn't or where the money is. And that's a really interesting way of looking at it. And it's good that it's shown success for you and it's given you clients more loyalty. I mean, the retail numbers that we were reading out from Faye and yourself, it's staggering, and I'm embarrassed to say that I haven't even touched the online retail market in lockdown 1, 2, or 3. I've not even approached my clients. I don't know about you, Eleni.
We weren't allowed actually to have any income coming into the business. So if we did do an online retail shop, we weren't allowed the grant.
Wow. Okay.
So, yep.
That's us at the moment.
Is it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
Cyprus and Ireland aren't allowed a grant if you are earning money.
Well, I think there is a certain amount you're allowed, like a tiny amount. I think it's up to something like 900 a month or something like that you can retail. And look, based on the grant that you're getting, it's not going to pay bills. Believe me, it's not.
No.
It's a token more than anything. But being realistic, like, I mean, if I'm down here in the salon today doing something like this with you, I've got my lights on, I've got my electricity going, the meter is still running regardless how little it might be. And that grant that you're getting, which you should be very grateful for, it's not going to keep you rich, or it's not going to basically pay for your stock. So you have to be creative. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, we've worked a lot of time. I mean, I can't do with the people that say, oh, well, they've got enough money. But we still worked majority of your lives for the success you've got, and it shouldn't be taken away through no fault of our own. I don't personally think anyway. But fair, I mean, talking of the online thing, I haven't done it. How would you recommend reaching out to your clients, number one? And what would you give advice to someone like me who has not even thought of ringing my clients and saying, do you want to buy shampoo?
We've made all our contact through email marketing. So can I assume that obviously you've got a salon software system? So within that software system, you should have the facility. You should have a complete marketing section in there. That marketing section is generally free if you do it through email. So we switched our text facility off because that was going to cost me money. So all the connection that I've made with my clients via email has been since the first day of lockdown. So all through lockdown, my clients have had what we call a mail on Monday. So my clients say to me, oh, I've had clients email me and say, oh, I didn't get my mail on Monday. And I'm thinking, because I haven't done it yet.
That's cool.
So they are expecting this consistent email where I update them each week on what is going on within my business. And as you said about being transparent, I have been completely transparent. As you can probably see by the way I speak, that's just how I am anyway. So my clients know exactly what's going on. Just touching on something you mentioned earlier about prices. So for me and my business, when it was all mentioned quite early on, just before we kind of came back from the first lockdown, there's lots of big people in the industry saying you've got to charge PPE and whatever. I never charged for PPE, regardless of what was, going to be the bill, because the way I saw it was that we were not able to go back and serve teas and coffees. And although the teas and the coffees didn't quite add up to the weekly or monthly bill that the PPE was going to cost me, it was going to take a proportion of that cost down. So I decided that it was a cost that I had to pay because we had to be clean and be COVID friendly. So it's another business cost. So that was fine. I've got some money coming back from the refreshments, and don't forget magazines, subscriptions and your refreshments, that all adds up. We weren't doing that. So we still had some money to kind of work with. And I think for me and my business and what I planned on kind of doing moving forward with my clients was making sure that I kept them engaged in the emails, and in those emails I made them aware of what we were going to do. So I built the websites through a coaching company that I'm still working with, actually, HPS. They actually did webinars where you could go on every single day and you could learn how to build a website. I can't believe that I built 2 websites in lockdown. Can't believe it. I'm not happy at all, but I did it. And so that second website went out, and that's the one that we do our retail on now. And so my clients knew via email what we were doing, and obviously the staff knew what we were doing. So it was being shared on social media. That's how I let clients know that we were doing it as well on social media. But they knew via email. That was the point of contact for my clients from the day we closed. all through email, and it's all free.
Sorry, drop my notepad then. That's interesting because I want to know if anyone else watching, have you reached out to your clients? Are you having a successful time with retail during this? Is this what keeping you surviving? Get your comments in them below or messages if you're listening on the podcast because I'd be really interested to know. But yeah, is it Eleni and Nigel? Has anyone done any sort of other cost-cutting exercises? I know we named there a few ways that you can save money and that you're not spending money on at the minute even. But is there anyone else that's done any cost-saving exercises to keep afloat?
I mean, we haven't obviously put our prices up. As Faye said, coffees and teas weren't allowed, but in Cyprus they were allowed in plastic cups. So we had more expenses on that. What we did do is removed services that weren't bringing any money, or it was the odd service here and there, but we had to have the stock just sitting there. So that's how we cut costs, and that excused the not putting prices up because, like, as we're struggling financially, so is the client, and I think they do appreciate more. Let's say, okay, we haven't put €1 or €2 up for your blow dry, but they would leave more, let's say, tips, for example, or anything like that. So that's how we've done it, really.
Yeah, go on. I'll go to you, Nigel. But yeah, that's a good point. Before I do that, clients are still leaving tips, so they are expecting to spend that money, even if you haven't put it up. So that's an interesting point there. Thank you. Yes, go on, Nigel.
Well, the big thing for me was, I mean, I knew the same as every hair salon in the world when they reopened that every chair was going to be full and utilised definitely for 6 weeks ongoing. So therefore I said to myself, look, we are going to be up one way or the other in the next 6 weeks. Like, we're going to have clients coming in and out of our ears. But what we needed to think of was what's going to happen after that 6 weeks, thinking like, when things slow down. So what we thought to ourselves was we need to put as much value on that chair as possible. Like, I mean, I operate in a 12 section salon and it's 6 now because of social distancing and stuff. I mean, and something's got to give at the end of the day. Like, I mean, the general public are not silly. They can see if you've got 12 bums in seats on a regular basis and all of a sudden you've got 6. Therefore, like, that's not going to basically work for me. And I mean, I'm not talking about survival, I'm talking about striving. And I mean, if you go into a business with the attitude of survival, you're only ever going to survive. Like, when I came back, I wanted to strive. I wanted to be the best, to show the whole world the best I possibly could be. And I wasn't playing the poor mouth. I was going in basically to make the best of everything. So harshly, what we did cut child's cuts. So, like, we did have a service before that we would allow children to come in. Now, let's face it, I mean, most of us know it can take up to 45 to 50 minutes to cut a child's haircut because you're not going to take any shortcuts. So therefore, like, I mean, and you're not going to charge them the full whack. So if somebody did insist on bringing in their child to get their haircut, and don't get me wrong, I love children. I really do. I would die for children. I don't sound like an old grandpa or whatever that's just sickened by kids, but I do love kids. But if a child does choose to come into their salon with their parent to get a cut, we will charge them the same price as a wash, cut and blow dry because, I mean, it's a business at the end of the day. And in terms of like cutting corners and stuff like that, we were just very, very careful about the person that we put into the chair because on average, there was an extra 15 minutes at least for every single service that was brought into the salon. So therefore, we were color, utilize that chair as much as possible. And really, I suppose to give you, that's the long answer really of asking me, like, did we cut any cost-cutting measures? We didn't really. We just looked at our services and saw what was more valuable to us as a business and as stylists, everything. Because you got to look after yourself at the end of the day. And I mean, like Faye is, like, she's a colour correction salon. I mean, my reputation is I'm colour only. Like, I mean, I've got anyone that comes into my chair is getting colour. And I mean, because of that, that's rubbed off big time on the stylists in the salon too, that like they've strived to become better colourists as well. And they all have excellent colour guests coming in as well that are willing to spend as much money as needed to give yourself a good lifestyle. So I just think you need to reevaluate the service that you're doing and how much is actually basically putting in your pocket and in your till and in your chair and in your lifestyle. Because again, another learning thing I got from COVID that I'm very grateful for.
That's really good, mate. That's so good. And all three of you, it's so good to see different avenues of income, different projects, different hobbies, how your funding in Cyprus, for example, is nowhere near the funding of the English, and I presume the Irish is a similar sort of thing to the English. or UK even. Sorry, let's take that box. But yeah, it's interesting insights, and I thank you so much for your time. Unless there's anything else you want to sort of say to the people that are watching or input, then I guess we can wrap it up. But thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Simon, I'd like to thank
Thank
you as
you.
well.
Thank you for
because, I
having
mean,
us.
without you, we wouldn't have this platform to kind of exploit ourselves. And even though this is obviously a great honor for us to be on, it's great to see our salon guests who tune in online, to see if we're putting an effort into ourselves as well. And you've given us that opportunity. So I thank you. And you're a hero for what you've done.
Oh well, I really appreciate that. But yeah, no, this is about you and the businesses and supporting everyone. And the main reason I started Hairsocials was because I wanted a stage to perform on, and I've worked with amazing hairdressers that no one in the industry would have heard of, and I thought that they deserve a stage as well. And you guys are testament to that, all three of you. So well done.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you,
everybody,
Simon.
and I will speak to you guys in a minute. But thanks for watching, everybody. Get your comments in, please share, and we'll see you next time.